lately, but everyone here knows me, and the third time. We're in a three-strike organization. Okay, Delancey Street is not really a 12-step organization. However, we stand on the shoulders of AA initially, and really there isn't anybody in the world who doesn't understand that denial is a very bad thing and acknowledgement is the first step towards health. And so I'd like to welcome you by saying, my name is Mimi, and as of midnight, I'm gonna be 60 years old. But redevelopment gave me that cute little poster that's on that pole as you walk in, and it turns out 60, you are a sexagenarian. If I had known that, I would have welcomed 60. Obviously, this is going to be a better decade than the last 2 decades have been. We are here to celebrate 30 years of incredible successes, opening of doors that none of us ever thought were going to be possible for the people who make up Delancey Street. And along with celebrating the opening of all those doors and the changing of all those lives and the miracles that have happened, we need to pause along the way and remember all of the pain. This is not an easy task. Those of you who are new to Delancey Street know the struggle. And those of you, there are people here, graduates from the 70s, graduates from the early 70s, all the way through graduates from just a few months ago. It is It's an incredible process to turn your life around. And along the way, there are many, many fights. And one of the things that we're very excited about doing tonight is honoring a woman who has been with us through every single one of our major battles at Delancey Street. It's only an incidental fact to us that she is one of the most important senators in the United States. Because in terms of Delancey Street, we're honoring Dianne Feinstein because of the courage that she had every step of the way with us. And it starts at the very beginning. I'm looking around the room. What's so great is in 1972, when we were starting our battle with Pacific Heights, Dianne was the youngest member of the Board of Supervisors. She was on the Board of Supervisors in kindergarten in 1977. Here tonight, as I looked around, there was Mike Berger, who along with Danny and Butch Hallinan were the lawyers for that fight. Everything comes around in a circle. Just last week, we had to go to court because Imperial Beach was jumping up and down, screaming because Delancey Street was thinking about opening a facility there. And the lawyer who fought that battle for us 30 years later, it's worth the battle, was David Silbert, my son. And people like Susie Bierman and Sue Hester all have been with Delancey Street since the day we started. But that very first battle, which I'm going to come back and describe, was in Pacific Heights, and no one was for us. And our neighbor was Diane Feinstein, and John Maher kept saying, "Oh, we're in deep." She's on the board, and she lives right near us, and oh my God, and she wears pearls. And in fact, it was Supervisor Feinstein who had the courage to stand up and be that very first vote, and because of her, the Board of Supervisors turned around and ultimately let us live in Pacific Heights. And as we went into the 80s and we outgrew all our property, and Diane by then had become mayor, it was because of Diane that we ended up with this property that allows us to build this building. And everybody from the building of the building is here. I can't tell you how it warms the cockles of my heart. Howard Backen, our architect, when we came to him, and all of you who are here, and said, "Hi, I'm Mimi, I'm the developer. And Delancey Street, we're all ex-felons and we have no experience, but we're all going to build the building ourselves. And we have no money, but we're interviewing architects. And who would like to do this for free?" And after Howard Backen boldly said, "I will," I had the chutzpah to say to him, "I'll get back to you." Diane got us the land, or gave us the opportunity. I gotta say this about Diane. Diane opens the doors, but she makes you do the right. It's like Delancey Street. You listen, you residents. She opens the doors, but she makes you do the work and all the right things in order to get it. After we had done everything and gone to redevelopment, and Leroy is here, and Walter Newman, and people who voted yes on us, and we were all excited, and Jean Gartland is here, who was the head of the port, who made everything possible, and we thought, oh my God, this is really going to happen. And then the ballpark came in. I'm so glad, because Peter McGowan and Larry Bear and all of the people from the game have already left, because the game has just started. But the ballpark committee came to Diane, and they had, remember this, Rick? They had selected this site to recommend to Diane for the ballpark. And we just sat there holding our breath, and Diane stayed true and said, "That's gonna belong one day to Delancey Street." And then she did things that didn't even, she thought that they weren't specifically for Delancey Street. For example, she developed some Office of Housing, OAHPPPH, a lot of government initials that allowed poor people to get some money from rich people building fancy developments. And that program allowed Delancey Street to get some money to build the building. And then the second that we completed the building, Diane started back on an issue close to her heart, which was kids. We had to do something for kids. God forbid we should relax and just enjoy the house. We had to do something for kids, and she stayed on me until finally we opened, in order, quite frankly, to just get her to stop. That's why we opened what is now an unbelievably successful high school for juvenile justice kids, our Life Learning Academy on Treasure Island. And so that you can see how life makes a circle, sending kids to that school, one of whom was supposed to go to the youth authority and instead got sent to our school. He did 2 years school in one. He worked night and day. He worked double summer sessions so that he could graduate and go to college when he reached 18, and sending him and numerous other kids who didn't have a chance before they did that is Diane's daughter, who is now the juvenile judge, Catherine Feinstein. Hooray! And that's the next generation that makes the circle, because today we get to announce Diane nudged a little, and I know what that means, nudged a little bit the correct committee in the Senate. One of the difficulties of Delancey Street is that we have changed so many lives, and we've done it by a model that unfortunately 30 years later is still unique and shouldn't be unique. We have a country in which everything is either criminalized and you're sent to prison, or medicalized and you're given some kind of medication. But in fact, the Delancey Street model of just each one teaching one, of people doing it themselves, of standing on each other's shoulders, that model has not yet been replicated. And Diane just made it possible for an initial $1 million planning grant to go from the Department of Justice to a group in Washington, because Delancey Street won't take government money. And this group in Washington has to deal with the government and then give us the money so that we can replicate this model all over the United States. She's some broad, Senator Feinstein is. We stand on many, many, many shoulders. I do, Delancey Street does, and everyone in Delancey Street. For me, of course, the first two are my parents. Particularly, I need to say this in this world where hatred and violence has taken the world over. My parents each immigrated into this country, escaping persecution in East Europe just based on their religion. And yet, in my family, they taught me nothing but warmth and love and forgiveness, that life was all about making the light shine brighter for the world, and that the only way to erase hatred and bigotry is through caring. And I was lucky enough to grow up in a family that left me feeling enough guilt and enough sense of what is possible in the world, that no matter what has been behind you, all that really matters is the hope for the future. And I really carry that obligation in my heart. And there are, of the 14,000 Delancey Street graduates, we counted out 10,000 who came here not very different in mentality from what's going on in the world. Gang members, violent gang members, people who, before coming to Delancey Street, spent their lives terrorizing people of different colors, of different religions, of different sides of the street, of different races. And they've gone on not only to become nonviolent, but to teach nonviolence wherever they go. It is so important. It is something that everybody has to take on themselves. It is on us to turn this world around. It is really scary. And the second set of shoulders that I stand on and Delancey Street stands on, of course, are John Maher's shoulders, one of the great fighters of all times, a true warrior. My little baby gut that believed with enough hugs and enough love, everybody would turn around, and as the Delancey Street residents can testify, it don't go that way. You need to be able to yell, and you need to be able to stand firm, and I toughened my gut up through his instruction. And everybody here, as I'm looking around, there really is nobody here that Delancey does not owe thanks to. And that's one of the things that, to me, makes our organization so special. We truly could not have done it without all of you. And so I hope you've eaten. Later, we're going to have you eat more, but we're going to start the celebration. I take no responsibility for this song, Merla. Another of our early supporters in Pacific Heights who has written this song, Merla Zellerbach, has written the song you are now about to hear as we begin our award ceremony to Senator Dianne Feinstein. Take it.
Meantime, Boston-born Mimi Halper Silbert had gotten her PhD in criminology and psychology at UC Berkeley. A strong social conscience led her to team up with ex-con John Maher. The result was
heroin addicts and criminals met at Delancey Street. They worked off their butts and examined their guts at Delancey Street. But their days were so loaded, they nearly exploded. Their crimes they vowed not to repeat. They listened to Mimi and turned round their lives at Delancey Street.
good things didn't just happen. Over the years, whenever controversies arose, Dianne Feinstein spoke out and took action.
First she said a few words, nice and neat, why Delancey folks should move to the Decentralized Street. Soon they grew too big and looked high and low. When Embarcadero begged and Dianne cried, let's go. Then on Treasure Isle she helped gain the space, so they started Charter High with style and grace. She made dreams come true as she stood by. Now that's what we call Pioneer Die.
But that's not all we're celebrating tonight.
Mimi's heart is with Delancey every bleeping day. She's worked out her Jewish guilt, and we've all gathered here to say we've endured the catch me out, dear, although you've crossed that certain line. Please believe us when we tell you it's goodbye 59. When you say goodbye, birthday cake but high, 50 she'll miss you so, oh, oh. But Mimi heart of gold, no way that you'll grow old. Birthdays have got to go.
Happy birthday, Mimi. Happy 30th anniversary, Delancey Street. We've come full circle.
Ex-cons and some druggies too, and 410 lost souls close at hand. Sharing quarters with rows and rows of the finest virtuosos, the best safecrackers in the land. Terribly fond we are of Delancey Street.
talk endlessly, am legitimately without enough words to tell you, Diane, how much you've done. I mean it, because, you know, people don't realize one of the great things about Delancey Street. If you go to eat at the restaurant, it kind of looks as if the food just churns out most of the time. And if you eat at the cafe, and if you get a move or you show up here, but for those of us who live it, it literally feels very often like everything is about to go under. And at the key points in my life when I was terrified that things were going to go under, those are the moments that for one reason or another, Diane Feinstein stood up. And each one of the standings was no small thing. It was not a small thing. We have a book this big. You can see some of the articles, but the articles were this big about the fight in Pacific Heights over Delancey Street. People weren't talking to each other. They were throwing things at each other at cocktail parties. And it was a real act of courage. And to have us be the first people to pioneer a new neighborhood, when in fact all the other developers were going to have to come in and say, oh yes, we'd like a loan for whatever, $100 million, and we're building right next to the violent ex-felons. But it's no problem because crime goes down. They're true acts of courage. So when we say thank you, when you clap, as we now are going to, please understand from how deep in the heart. There honestly, I don't think Delancey Street would be here if Diane hadn't had the courage to stand with us and for us at the times when it really mattered. Come on up, Senator Diane Feinstein! We made it ourselves. I'm going to read it. It probably means that it'll have a few mistakes in it. But that's how you know it'll come from Delancey Street. Our lifetime pioneer, Diane Feinstein, Senator. We have here, I saw Nancy Pelosi here. We have the two presidents of the United States standing here as we stand. Nancy Pelosi and Diane Feinstein, co-presidents of the United States. Isn't that what we need? But for this moment, we'll erase it, because we know how, when Diane becomes president, and we'll put president. But right now it says senator.
That's enough.
You've made impossible dreams happen, pioneering Delancey Street's growth for 30 years, pioneering homes and hope and new lives for over 14,000 people. Diane Feinstein.
Oh, Mimi. Thank you very much. You know, I've gotten a lot of plaques in my day. Let me tell you something. This one really means a lot, and I want to tell you why. And I've never said this before. For 5 years, in the 1960s, I set sentences and granted paroles in the state prison system to women convicted of felonies. And I sat on 5,000 cases. And I came to the conclusion at the end of those 5 years that prison can't rehabilitate. Prison can only enable you to pay your debt to society, but it can't rehabilitate. And then, when I was on the Board of Supervisors, and I actually think I was the president, I actually think it was in 1971, and we had little tiny cubicles, and Johnny Maher came in and kind of looked at me across the desk, and he didn't quite know what to think, and I didn't quite know what to think. I probably did have on pearls, Mimi. Thanks to my marriage, they got a little bigger. But as happens sometime, things gel. And Johnny said that Delancey wanted to buy this house at the corner of Broadway and Divisadero, which in San Francisco we call the Gold Coast. And they needed the zoning to be okay because it was zoned R1H, which meant single family. And I listened to him, and I listened to what his idea was. I knew from whence he came, and in him was many of you don't know him, but there was a strength, and there was a spine, and it was steel, and there was a determination. And I thought at the time, you know, if this is ever going to work, this is the person, why not give it a try and let us see? Because one of the things I learned is if you're really going to change your life, you got to change the environment that drove you to do whatever it is. And if you can't change that environment and you go right back to it, it is very difficult, and the individual, more often than not, I have found fails. So I thought, let's try it. Let's really see if putting ex-convicts in the middle of the Gold Coast in Pacific Heights, let's see what it does. Well, let me tell you what it did. Right. Now that's a young man with a good taste. It did change. It did change things. Pacific Heights was safer. I think it gave people that lived there that were part of Delancey a self-esteem, a dignity. Delancey Street never once violated the trust that was put into everybody that lived at Divisadero and Broadway. Never once. There was never a single complaint to me from anybody about Delancey in Pacific Heights. And then, when I was mayor, it was actually my son-in-law who came in and talked to me about a proposal for Delancey to get what we call a seawall lot down on the Embarcadero. Now, seawall lots have extraordinary value. And at this time, Delancey had a track record. Delancey was performing. Delancey was self-sufficient economically. You had the businesses. I had used many of the businesses personally. I knew people were good. I knew they performed, and had a real sense that it would be very interesting to see Delancey build this, much to labor's credit. And there are many people. Art Pulaski is here tonight. I saw Bob Morales, Leroy King, all of which come out of San Francisco's labor movement, gave their vote of support to Delancey. And labor could have, at the time, presented real problems and did not. And this was built with Delancey labor, this entire complex. It is extraordinary when you think about it. listen to me or not. But I do know this, that institutions like Delancey rise and fall based on the determination of the person at the head of leadership. And that's where Delancey has really lucked out, both in Johnny Maher and in Mimi Silbert, because Mimi has this same spine, this same backbone, this same determination. And so I've watched, you know, in Santa Fe, I've watched in other places. I had dinner last night in Los Angeles with the mayor of Los Angeles, and of course I said, how is Delancey doing at the Mid-Wilshire Hilton? He said, great, no problems, none at all. I never hear anything that's negative at all. And a while ago, it became very clear that there is a model in Delancey that if we can clone and replicate and put throughout the United States, can really be a major way to turn around lives once very troubled into lives very productive in our society. And so it was very easy for us to help. Interestingly enough, I got a call this past week from a Los Angeles Times reporter who said that they had heard us brag about the fact that Delancey doesn't take any taxpayer monies, and here there was this grant that I had helped get. Didn't I think it was a little bit hypocritical? And I said, no, not at all. As a matter of fact, if Delancey came to me and said they wanted an appropriation, I'd try to get it for them. Nancy Pelosi would help. We'd all help because we know the model works. And therefore, this grant carries out really one of our great hopes, and that is that through this planning grant, Delancey will be able to replicate all throughout the United States. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is a very big deal. Think of what it can do for the lives of literally hundreds of thousands of people if we're able to carry it off. Now, my family knows that some time ago, when I was mayor, I used to go out to Hunters Point every Monday afternoon, and that way I could avoid the Board of Supervisors. And I'd meet with kids at Hunters Point in the Milton Meyer Recreation Center. And kids would come, some were 6, some were 16. There was a lot of drugs involved in their lives, and a lot of very interesting things happened. But as a product of that, we got involved with one youngster who we helped for a number of years, and we could never really change that environment. He ended up playing Russian roulette in the Mission and killing himself. At the age of 19, he had just been accepted at Fresno State, and it was one of the hardest things we have gone through. And that's what gave way to the facility that Delancey has opened in Treasure Island. That if we can take youngsters early on from troubled environments, and let me tell you, Harbor Road is a hard place at Hunters Point if you have any kind of an involvement with drugs. But if you can take those youngsters and take them out of that environment and give them something that's positive and a kind of role model and a kind of mentor, that can make a huge difference. So Mimi, really listen. I mean, what a sexagenarian, huh? How many Mimi Silberts are there really? And so I want to really celebrate the birthday of this woman. Think about it. Just think about it for the years that she's lived with Delancey. Think about the hundreds of meetings. Think about all of the different phases of life at Delancey. Think about the good, the hard, the really rough times, and think about the fact that she is still here, that she has dedicated her life to this institution, and now to see it throughout the entire United States. Ladies and gentlemen, there are not many Mimi Silberts in the world, but when there is one, she becomes a national treasure. And that's what this is all about tonight. Mimi, come on up here. I can't read it. I don't have my glasses. So, oh, can I quickly read it? I don't have my glasses, so I can't read the small print. But let me just quickly read the big print. In recognition and appreciation of the Delancey Street Foundation for its 30 years of service as a critical community resource and as the nation's leading self-help rehab center. Under the vision and leadership of Mimi Silbert, Delancey Street has inspired and prepared over 14,000 former substance abusers and ex-convicts to live crime-free, drug-free, and poverty-free lives. Through its emphasis on the values of hard work, personal responsibility, and self-sufficiency, it has become a powerful model for similar programs throughout the country. Managed by highly motivated and dedicated program participants, the foundation provides this community with highly successful and well-known businesses and gives its members a second chance at life. On behalf of the United States Senate and the people of California, I thank Delancey Street participants, supporters, and friends who have made the last 30 years an astonishing success. I especially thank Mimi Silbert, whose perseverance and unique vision has helped transform thousands of extraordinary dreams into achievable realities. I applaud your compassion, your dedication, and your inspiring work. Happy birthday, Mimi, and happy anniversary, Delancey Street.
Those of you who know me know that this will handle for me one night's worth of peanut butter M&Ms. It goes by my bedside. I love you. Thank you. Diane,
say one more thing. We had a governor in this state who some people called Governor Moonbeam. Just some people. However, that governor really recognized what's important in life, and that was to become a mayor. And so he went to the city of Oakland, and guess what? He became the mayor. But there's a message in this, totally contrary to anything that one might have thought he would do. He established a school that was dedicated to discipline, to performance, to ethics, in a kind of military model. Guess what? The school board wouldn't help him finance it. And yet, youngsters from Delancey, from all over wanted to go to this school. We managed to find different ways to get it financed. It is successful. That model is working. It is a little different. And I'd like you to warmly welcome that mayor, Mary Jerry Brown, of the city that has there.
Is the right place to talk about the school, but the only point I say, when I was growing up, I never would clean my room, and my mother said, if you don't shape up, you're going to a military school. And I always thought, that's what I should have went to, if I had done that. So that's what I want to provide for all those kids who don't clean their room, and worse, a great opportunity to get a college prep education with a nurturing environment, but with a very strong structure, with a lot of charismatic leadership. And we're just a kind of a small version of Delancey Street by other means. But we want to get a little of San Francisco over in Oakland, and the best part of San Francisco would be getting Delancey Street and Mimi Silbert. So the invitation is always there. Congratulations on your 60th. It's not all bad.
Mayor Jerry Brown in a suit. In a suit for my birthday, he told me. David and Greg. Wait. Oh no, we're mid. Not yet. Because the best thing I've ever done is about to come on the stage. Greg and David Silbert.
I just want to say I was thrilled to be able to represent Delancey Street in this little dispute they had in San Diego. That my mother is thanking me for it is clear evidence to me that she has not yet received my bill. And so that's going to be coming soon, and we can talk about a payment plan or...
My brother David and I have been extremely, extremely fortunate in the family that we have. Many of them are here. My grandmother is sitting right here. She's wonderful. She's 39. It's her birthday too.
Actually, in all seriousness, my grandmother will be celebrating her 90th birthday this fall, so everyone...
And of course my mother is wonderful, and we've also had a very unusual experience, David and I, of growing up here in Delancey Street and of having all of these people around us all the time as we were children and sharing our childhood with them. And you know, it strikes me that one hears a lot these days about non-traditional families and the traditional family and the Defense of Marriage Act. And you know, traditional family to David and me means coming home with 500 ex-felons and telling them everything about your life and hearing everything about their life. And that's been absolutely wonderful. So, Mom, on your birthday, we tell you that we love you very much, and we thank you for giving us our wonderful Delancey Street family. And now, if she's here, I would like to invite up the absolutely best minority whip ever, and the first woman to hold the job, Representative Nancy Pelosi.
Diane, for a minute, I thought you were going to announce for mayor. Oh, I want to say something on behalf of the House of Representatives briefly, but before I do, I want to say something about our honoree tonight, Senator Dianne Feinstein. There are a few blanks that I want to fill in on the story that you have heard. And I know that Marla Zellerbach can speak to this with the greatest authority. When Dianne was elected to the Board of Supervisors, she came from a different direction to the board. This beautiful young woman ran for the Board of Supervisors, and you know what? She came in first. And people said, well, how could it? She can't be president because she hasn't been on the board. She's so new. But of course, she would be president of the board. So when Mimi talks about Dianne being a pioneer and all that she did, you have to remember that she, although she had experience as an appointee of Governor Brown, Sr., nonetheless, in the terms of City Hall, she took it by storm, and not everybody, some people had to move over, shall we say. And this beautiful young woman, and I live across the street from Marla, and Marla was one of Dianne's most ardent and earliest supporters, so I knew about her through Marla. This beautiful young woman, newly empowered, early in her term, used her political capital for something that Mimi has described. But you had to be there to fully appreciate what this was all about. Isn't that not right, Dianne? And what an impact. People just couldn't get used to the idea that the Gold Coast was going to have these new residents. As it turns out, through Dianne's wisdom, and that's leadership, seeing early on what the possibilities are, the neighborhood became safer. You all patrolled the neighborhood, and people wondered later why there was even a fuss or forgot that there had been one. But the fact is that you have to understand also the courage it took for Dianne to do that so early in her career, and the political capital that she had to put out to do that, which is not always to be expected from politicians. And of course, seeing Mimi Silbert and being here to celebrate her 60th and Delancey's 30th, when I went before the House to brag on them, I was going to switch it, knowing how little sensitive before you left the denial behind here on the stage earlier, and say that you were 30 and Delancey was 60, but it didn't add up. So we had to stick with the truth. And the truth is that this woman, she can make anything happen. The reason it's been hard to replicate Delancey is because there is no one like Mimi Silbert. There is no one like her. I only wish Jimmy Herman could be here tonight. Jimmy was so much a part of the creation of where we are tonight, and in fact, he lived here until the end of his life, and we mourned him in this room. This room has been the family living room for so much of what has happened in the civic life of San Francisco. We've celebrated, we've cried, we've mourned. And so that's part of the miracle of Delancey Street as well. As far as Mimi being 60, isn't that a riot? I'm reminded of a birthday card I once saw which said, "Age is like art. It's a matter of interpretation." And Mimi's interpretation of 60 is more like 30. Her interpretation of boundless energy, incredible love to her mother, what a tribute she is to you. And we learned tonight why she is the way she is. It's a real tribute to her parents. And to the extent that we honor her, there is no greater tribute to Mimi Silbert than these wonderful residents of Delancey Street who are such success stories in themselves. So I was very proud to tell, as Senator Feinstein did in the Senate, tell my colleagues in the House about Mimi, and I'll associate myself with the Senator's remarks to some extent, but to also just say that in one sentence, we told them Mimi's interpretation of 60 is that she is an inexhaustible dynamo who does what she does out of love, commitment, and belief in the value of humanity. She has been called the Mother Teresa of America. Saint Mimi, I like that better. In San Francisco, as the Senator said, she is a treasure, our beloved friend who has touched and miraculously changed so many lives. We love her and are forever in her debt. And I'm proud to join my constituents and the members of the House of Representatives. Well, that's one more point I would make there, and that is to say that the day that Mimi Silbert was born was a blessing for so many, many people. She has even had bipartisan recognition of her greatness and her accomplishments. Do you know that this 60-year-old woman is a thousand point of light, all in her own right? I don't like the sound of this 60-year-old woman. You could just turn on me any second, I know. I know. Well, I want you, I'm so glad you're joining the club. In any case, it's an honor for me. I'm going to pass this on to you, Mimi, without reading it all, but also just to say that words could never, ever, ever express this incredible creature that has come from another planet into our lives, changed them all for the better, and seems to have an endless supply of love to go on for another 60 years, or at least another 30 years at Delancey Street. So, as I said before, when she was born, God blessed us all. Certainly God blessed America when Mimi Silbert was born. So thank you, Mimi. Happy birthday.
Okay, it's time to invite up two more wonderful people who have been wonderful friends to Delancey Street for a long time. This is the future Secretary of State of the state of California, Kevin Shelley, and the future member of the Board of Equalization, Carol Migden.
My little brother, I present. You know, Mimi, you really had been a role model for me because you've kind of evidenced to the world how dynamite comes in small, petite packages with curly hair and lots of moxie. And I think we and the future Secretary of State and myself want to offer you, and we made 2 resolutions. Maybe before we leave office, we'll coordinate better and make it one. But most particularly to acknowledge Delancey Street for its unique model, and most importantly for your reliance on self-reliance and the discussion. And I know there have been a few little, which one you like? I think I had mine better. All right, we want it all. And let me present, let's have Kevin say a few words.
Thank you, Carol. Tonight in this room, there are, as I see it, basically 4 groups of people. You've got friends of Delancey Street. You have current residents of Delancey Street. You have official graduates of Delancey Street. And then you have a number of us unofficial graduates of Delancey Street. And I'd like to speak on behalf of the unofficial and the official. Every professional success that I have personally achieved has been the result of Delancey Street. Every election to every office has been the result of Delancey Street. Getting over a failed relationship years ago was the result of many hours of counseling by our friend Mimi Silbert. Getting my head together sufficiently to meet my wonderful wife was the result of wonderful counseling and friendship of Mimi Silbert. And everyone here, official or unofficial, current or graduate of Delancey Street, can tell a story like that, where they've achieved professional success or personal success because of this extraordinary organization. And this extraordinary organization is only a reflection of this absolutely extraordinary woman. Mimi Silbert, you are one of, if not the most extraordinary human beings I have ever had the privilege and pleasure to meet in my life. I know I say on behalf of everyone here, we love you so, so very deeply. And so professionally, I indeed have this for you as well. Of course, this is Carol's. And personally, on behalf of both of us, if we can bring up the lilacs and the white chocolate truffles. To this woman who has gotten us all together to succeed professionally and personally, who is indeed a universal, that means the whole universe, treasure. We love you.
If I'd have known this, I would have claimed 60 10 years ago.
Okay, we have a few more proclamations to show. I won't read them all to you, but I'll show them to you, and I'll maybe read something from them because they're all really wonderful. This was given by Senator Barbara Boxer. It's called In Celebration of Delancey Street Foundation's 30th anniversary, and it goes on and describes what Delancey Street does and how it's done it. And it says, none of this would be possible without the amazing Mimi Silbert, president and co-founder of Delancey Street. Her dedication, foresight, business sense, and compassion embody the spirit of Delancey Street. I send my warmest congratulations to Mimi and all of the staff, residents, and volunteers and alumni on 30 years of success, and my best wishes for even better decades ahead. Senator Barbara Boxer. This is from Governor Gray Davis. Another very nice proclamation. I'll give you the punchline is that the governor has proclaimed March 28th, 2002 as Mimi Silbert and Delancey Street Day all over the state of California. Here we have one more. This is from the President of the Senate, John Burton, obviously a wonderful friend to Mom and a great friend to all of us for so long. He's given us this wonderful proclamation to Mom. And he personally painted the whole thing. He spent hours. This is truly an embarrassment of riches. I have yet more proclamations to show to you. These are both from the San Francisco Board of Supervisors. They declared today in San Francisco both Delancey Street Day and Mimi Silbert Day. And these have been signed by every member of the Board of Supervisors, a number of whom are here tonight. They were both sponsored by Supervisor Mark Leno, and so a special thank you to Supervisor Leno for these.
this microphone is for your height, Mom. This is a proclamation from the city of Los Angeles, and down the street, it's acceptable and, in fact, encouraged to boo Los Angeles whenever it's mentioned. But I'm sorry. In this room, I was about to say we love Los Angeles. So, and we especially love it today. This is a congratulations from Mayor James Hahn of Los Angeles to Delancey Street and to Mimi Silbert. And last, and certainly not least, these are twin proclamations from Mayor Willie Brown, congratulating both my mother and Delancey Street on their 30th and 60th anniversaries. Until Senator Feinstein said the word, I never had thought of my mother as a sexagenarian, and I think it's just that is going to plunge me into analysis for a long time to come. But
okay, it's time now for my brother and I to make a toast to people that are here with us and without whom Delancey Street would not exist. This is a toast to all of the judges, the members of the bench who are out there and who are the people who have to make the very, very difficult decision of sending someone to Delancey Street and taking a chance and giving them a chance. So I don't know if these judges are still here, but if they are, if they could just stand up and wave. There's Justice Ron George of the California Supreme Court. There's Judge Marcia Berzon of the United States Court of Appeals for the Ninth Circuit, who I must say is my former boss. Judge Willie Fletcher of the Ninth Circuit. Of course, there's Catherine Feinstein, daughter of the other honoree. There's Tony Klein. Judge Thelton Henderson, who's been a wonderful friend. And Judge Maxine Chesney.
And I get the privilege to introduce the newest, probably, of all those judges, John Tiger. Delancey Street is a lot of things. It's a family, and Delancey Street is a social experiment that is unprecedented in history, as far as I know. But let us all not forget that Delancey Street is also a business. And like any business, Delancey Street needs a source of supply. And all of these judges who have just been introduced and the others like them are the source of supply for Delancey Street's business. So we owe them all thanks for our survival. In all seriousness, I mean, what Delancey Street is an idea and a dream that is had by a lot of people, and what makes that idea and dream be able to be a reality and something that changes the lives of now tens of thousands of people is the progressive and the courageous thinking of the people like those that were just mentioned and others like them. And so it really is true that Delancey Street owes everything to those people and the other supporters through the years. So please join me in a very heartfelt thank you to the people who have just been named, the members of who are part of the justice system of this country and who support an idea as crazy as it is, like Delancey Street.
Okay, I would like to invite up some very, very, very talented people who will say a few words about Delancey Street and about my mother. This is someone who, if anyone was watching last Sunday night, and I'm sure everyone was, you know quite well, stole the show at the Academy Awards, Miss Sharon Stone. And the wonderful man of letters, Phil Bronstein.
Hi, my name's Sharon, and I'm 44. And I'd like to thank Mimi for helping me and other people in Hollywood like myself, breaking the myth and letting us understand that it's better to be interesting, active, grown-up women than old girls. There is life after 40, especially if you sober up. Fortunately, I didn't have to come to Delancey Street to do it, but it's good to know I could have, because it was touch and go, especially Sunday. I take him everywhere. It's like a comedy act. Do you want to say happy birthday to Mimi? Do you want to blow her a kiss? Can you give her a kiss? Can you give her kisses? Can you go, mwah? Go in the back? Okay.
She's trying to train me to do that.
I've grown through that phase, Mimi, and a lot of that was with your help. In fact, a lot of the fact that we're a family was with your help. We've learned a lot from you, Mimi, and one of the main things we've learned is that Mimi never comes out of this place. She won't come for dinner, you can't get her out. If you want to see her, you've got to come here. And we're pleased and proud to come here. We're pleased and proud to be a part of your life, and we love you so much. It's immeasurable. And you are a big part of creating this. So thank you. And I'd like to say this to the senator, you just go, girl. And honey, you just go as far as you can go, and you just know there's a big group of us grown-up women in Hollywood. We're just gonna go with you. And okay, we'll bust out the pearls. Make them think we're nice.
Is Peter Coyote here? Yes, please, Peter, come up. One more.
Mimi, if I'd known you were grown up, I would have worn a tie to your party. I met Mimi and John almost 30 years ago, I had matriculated in pharmacology at the Eddy Hotel. Was that a laugh of recognition? I recognize several of you. Anyway, it was time for a career change, and then Governor Brown took a very brave leap and appointed me to the State Arts Council, had he only known. And I was kind of at sea and swimming around. My idea of politics was rudimentary, which was, I'm in, I get to take revenge on my enemies. And that's what I did and kind of brought the apparatus to a stop. And somewhere around there, I met John and Mimi, and I went to speak to them about what to do in California. And I spoke to them for about 5 minutes, and I realized they were more whacked out than I was. But out of that conversation, especially John going on a ramble about Irish jig dancers and Finnish lace weavers, and he brought the entire ethnic population of California into that conversation and actually gave me the map of my next 9 years of service on the Arts Council, legitimately from that conversation. I turned around about face, I understood that everybody had to participate, and it was from that conversation. And it was the Arts Council that actually gave me the courage to say, maybe I'll try the movies. So when I heard that Mimi was a sexagenarian, because there's a possibility of some brain damage, I thought that that meant a hot geneticist. And then I thought about it, and I thought that wasn't really so far off. She is hot. We all know that. And the model of each one help one is a perfect example of replication. It's the way genes work, it's the way cells reproduce, and it's the way the tiniest seed produces a towering oak. So Mimi, I don't know if you're the sunshine, the rain, the soil, the seed, or the full oak, or all of the above. But God bless you, and thank you for being 60.
All right, we have one last surprise for my mother. Anyone who knows my mother, who has been around our house when David and I were children, knows that what my mother is always doing is singing Barbra Streisand songs. There's very little time that she isn't doing that. And with that, here we go.
I have to tell you something, those bodyguards are terrified of me. They don't know what I am. It's a he, she, I don't know what he is, I don't know what he is. Anyway, I want to say how thrilled I am to be here this evening. I mean, in the company of Congressman Nancy Pelosi, Senator Dianne Feinstein, the mayors are here, both of them. And when I think of both of the mayors, I think, all the mayors are brown, and the governor's gray. But tonight, and it's hard to believe it's not about me, but it's about me times two. Me, Mimi, everybody is gathered here tonight because you are truly an inspiration to us all. You are strong, you are courageous, you're Jewish, you're everything. You're just everything. And, well, what more can I say but... Mimi Silbert, what a beautiful, beautiful name. 'Cause she's the most wonderful person in the sweating. Mimi, you're oh so teeny. You're barely 5 feet tall. Oh, but just give her 3 chocolate cakes, and in one sitting, she can eat them all. Oh, her twin boys, I'm telling you, they're lawyers, they're gorgeous, and both are Jews. Okay, let's stop. Let's stop a minute. I screwed up the lyric. We're doing this again. Okay? You with me? We worked too hard for this. Okay, we got the first part. Me, also Tony Bandy, nothing, oh, her twin boys, I'm telling you. We better get it this time. Our lawyers, they're gorgeous, and both are Jews. Oh, gosh damn it. Darn it. I'm sorry. Hold on. The lyric will come to me. This is unbelievable. Thank you. Oh, for Christ's sake. Okay. Let's do it again. Okay. Me, also teeny, barely 5 feet tall. Just give her 3 chocolate cakes and she can eat them all. Where are the kids? Her twin boys. I'm telling you, 3 times you're getting it. They're lawyers, they're gorgeous, and both are Jews. Now, when you talk, you sound like me, but you're always drinking a mug of tea. She's Mimi, you're like Fellini. There's no one, oh gosh damn it. I just came from another gig, huh? Jesus Christ, I can't believe I know this whole thing. Okay, let's try again. No, I'm nervous. Okay. Mimi, also oh, her twin boys, listen, the lyrics are good. Her twin boys, I'm telling you, lawyers are gorgeous and both are Jews. When you talk like me. Always drinking a mug of tea. Oh! Mimi, you're like Fellini. I'm holding the song, I'm holding. Mimi, you're like Fellini. You know she's one of a kind. And you all know if you screw up, she will speak her mind. Well, they say you're loud. Who gives a damn? But maybe your voice that does carry all the way to Mount Tam. You're Mimi Silbert, that's you. That face, that 59 and 11/12 year old face, it shines, it glows all over the place. A face like yours is unlike any other. Her face is just like that of your mother. Ma! Stand up, Ma, come on. Look at that pudding, look at that pudding. She won't wear makeup or fix her hair, but Mimi uses the fingers before an affair. She's our cheerleading girl, you must agree. Now then there's our know the girls get upset. Suddenly I thought